we got to talk about Clarence Thomas and his disclosure form today. The re-trips on a private jet, Harlan Crow, billionaire that has been bankrolling him, purchased a home for his mother, paid for education for a nephew, I guess, that he adopted or, almost adopted or, took into his home. Let's put it like that. And this report, even though he acknowledges the 3 trips, still doesn't seem to be comprehensive, still doesn't seem to cover every gift or gratuity that he has received. And then there's this explanation for one of the trips that he was told to avoid commercial air flights because of the leak of the Dobbs decision. But help us understand how the Supreme Court is viewed today versus how the court has been viewed historically. Is this, this lack of confidence because you have justices on private jets with billionaires who have cases before them? Is this lack of confidence that we have today, is this new, or is this something that has been a part of this court's history?
It's new. I mean, and what we're seeing is this continuation of the erosion of trust and respect and meaning behind all types of government agencies, government rulings, people in politics, and definitely the Supreme Court. We have justices like Thomas taking money from conservative billionaires. We have a Supreme Court that lacks a clear code of ethics about whether receiving funding, gifts, and assistance from interested parties is okay, right? We're talking about very specific, impactful, pivotal political roles that Supreme Court justices play, and they don't have any rules about whether or not you're able to take money from someone who might have some interest in something you can do. There should be no wiggle room for undue influence. There should be no wishy-washy understanding about gifts and funding. If you work at a fast food restaurant, the first thing you get when you do orientation is a book of rules about the way that you engage with the business, with their assets, and with their customers. So there should be something like that, just as clear and just as precise for the Supreme Court. Why should the Supreme Court justices not have explicit mathematical rules about receiving money from Texas billionaires? Also, why does Clarence Thomas, after being a justice for decades, need someone else to pay for his mother's home and his nephew's private school? I mean, maybe that's an aside. That's personal, maybe. But so he described this as personal hospitality from a friend, and he's tried to kind of explain it away in that way. But when you have such a high position, when you have such an important position, I don't know if there really should be such a thing as personal hospitality from a friend that amounts to that kind of money, especially if that friend has some interest in the kind of politics that you might be able to influence.
Yeah, and I think what's so troubling about this is, in addition to what you said, no code of ethics, resisting any efforts by the Senate to impose even oversight, investigate, or rules of ethics, and this notion of self-governance. Yeah. So they get to decide when or if they recuse themselves. So Harlan Crow can have business before this court, which he has had an interest in lots of cases before the court. And there's no one there to tell Clarence Thomas, okay, you flew on his private jet 3 times last year, so you're off this case. You're not going to decide this case. That doesn't exist. So he can decide cases and tell us, oh, I'm not influenced by this. But by definition, Harlan Crow, I just don't believe, picked Thomas Clarence to be his BFF all of a sudden. I mean, this was a very purposeful hookup, connection, introduction, and relationship that they have. And it really, as you said, has eroded the trust that the public has, the U.S. public has, in the court at a time when we need the Supreme Court to be that body, because we have seen the erosion of trust in our legislative body. We have so much infighting, so much partisan infighting, that it's hard to have any faith in any branch of our government.